Okay, back once again for another Re-Creation review, this time on the legendary 1966 Ford GT40 MkII in the 1/18 scale that was driven by Ken Miles in the 1966 Le Mans. And this here comes from Shelby Collectibles, and it was featured heavily in the 2019 James Mangold movie Ford V Ferrari, starring Christian Bale and Matt Damon, playing Ken Miles and Carroll Shelby. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a great little film. And I'm also going to compare it to how it competed in the 1966 race at Le Mans, when it came second due to certain controversies that occurred. I'll lightly touch on that. So here we go. Here's the car in its case. This is a Shelby Collectibles from 2009, if I'm not mistaken. The case itself has changed over the past couple of years from what I noticed. Like, it used to be just all black at one stage with a bit of gold writing. But lately, I think now they just changed the case where it's now in the same color scheme as the car itself, which is not bad. It displays very well. It's got a nice, it stands out. I just like how it stands out. So it's one of those cars that I think is better in the case itself, left in the box. So here it is. Let's have a look at it now up close.
Hit it. Attaboy.
So I like how they've matched the color scheme of the box with the car itself. It's one of those things where it looks so good in the box, you kind of don't want to take it out. You can display it like this as it is very well. So the date 1966 on the top of the box, and inside you got the tag, 1966 Ford GT40 MkII. Adds to the appeal of just leaving it in the box and on the shelf just displayed as it is. On the sides of this, not much is going on. It's just got a representation of the design, how it is on the hood. Got the hood right there, you got two stripes, got the number 1, etc. On the bottom, just got your typical licensing details, officially licensed, Ford Motor Company, just typical like the Shelby Motor Company, the Shelby Collectibles and that such. So let's take it out and see what it's like. So here it is now on the 1/18 scale, out of the box. We'll say this is one of the cars that looks very nicely displayed on its casing on the bottom, like probably because of its smaller size compared to other 1/18 scales. Probably good to have it like that, but if you want to take it off, let's have a close look. Let's take those screws off and just have a look at it without it. Okay, that's the first stage of the mounting removed. It's got these nice little soft rubber foam type things to keep it all from scratching underneath or just keep it in place. Nothing wrong with that. But there's another set of screws that need to be taken off at the bottom, so we're going to have to take those off as well in order to really have it see how it rolls. So now that it's on its wheels, we can have a closer look at it and see how it compares to its racing original. Looking at it, one thing I got to be mentioned though, when you do take it apart, be very careful. The plastic for the glass is a bit soft and brittle. I think it might have happened the way I was handling it. One of the glasses on the driver's side cracked. So the driver's side glass cracked away probably when I was taking off. So you might want to be a bit careful about that. The plastic of the glass is a bit brittle and feels too soft than it should be.
Get out of the way. Go, 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 go.
This is one of those things where you've got access to practically everything. So you got access to the 427 V8, which is always good. With the bundle of snakes mufflers there, how they called it, how they all just rotated within themselves. Good access along this one. I'm really happy with this one as well. You got access to everything, which is always a bonus. You can never go wrong when you got so much access to a vehicle. It gives you more display options.
More of that, please. More of that, my girl.
It's funny because it's not it feels a bit light. I'm a bit odd about that. It doesn't feel like a heavy car. There's something about it. It's got some. It feels a bit too, I don't want to say the word flimsy, but it doesn't feel as strong as it should be. It doesn't feel as reliable as it should be.
Bloody door won't close!
I mean, it rolls straight forward. The rolling's pretty good. Some of the joints I feel are a bit loose, It is die-cast all around. It just feels like, but just some of the hinges, everything feels loose about it. Just handling it, it just feels like it's all ready to fall apart. So just be careful how you handle it. No suspension whatsoever, which is a bit disappointing. I'm starting to like cars. I know it's kind of pointless, but I like cars with a bit of suspension to it. Compared to my other previous reviews, it feels like the cheapest one so far. Just the cheapest material used. There's something about just the way it's built. It's not solidly held together.
Well, it's awful.
Okay, so it's not awful. Let me just paraphrase that. It's still good. Don't get me wrong. It's not an awful car. It's not by any means that. It just does feel a bit like too loose. Maybe it should have been a bit tighter. Some of the joints feel a bit loose. Some of the plastics, like I mentioned, the glass before, where it's cracked. It just feels a bit too flimsy. Where you got to be careful when you're going to handle it. just remember that, you know, things are a bit easy to chip away, some of the paint.
Now, this is not a machine just anybody can get in and easily control. Absolutely not.
So luckily there are only a few minor details that this model gets wrong compared to the original racer and the movie car itself, like the bronze mags for example, where in the movie they were just grey throughout. But one of the biggest mistakes is the gear lever. Now for some reason in the model they put it in the center console, where in the original racer it was on the right hand side, so I don't know why they did that. Now this car was driven in 1966 by Ken Miles at the 24-hour Le Mans, where the controversy had kind of happened where Ford wanted that photo finish of the 1, 2, 3 of Ford finishing, and there's a bit of controversy, you might want to see in the history of that. Ken, though, was in the lead beforehand, and he kind of gave up that lead to give the photo finish, expecting to still be given the win, but because McLaren in the number 2 car started a bit behind him, I think it was something like 8 meters further down, he was given the win because they said he drove the extra distance. So again, if you're into racing history, you might want to look that up. But a lot of people feel like Ken was robbed that year of the Triple Crown, having already won Daytona and Sebring beforehand. Unfortunately, he was not given the Le Mans win. Although it's been sounding like I've been knocking this model, let me just say I do like it, and I like the car a lot itself. And one thing that I found that was very surprising was inside the interior, the seats, instead of being that hard plastic that you usually get, they were this softer material, this rubber type material. When you press down, it actually felt like leather type seats. So that was a nice little inclusion. And they put in the effort in the details with the gearbox and the engine, so I'm not going to knock that. They really put their effort in a lot of the right places. And in the movie itself, the car just displays so well, it's kind of hard to hate it no matter what. Now, you got good access to the 427, that legendary 427 V8, and just amazing with the 485 brake horsepower.
Managed to make it 52 pounds lighter than the NASCAR unit.
Gives you incentive to display it open. Looking at the car 360, looking at it all round, it looks good from every angle. I was surprised when I compared it next to my other 1/18 scale model cars, just how small the GT40 really is. Because I just always assumed it would be a bit bigger. Now in the movie itself, this car it played such a big role. Not many car movies do that. I mean, the better ones do that, where they get the car and make it also like a center point. But in this movie in particular, the car was pretty much a center point. It's all great, but let's compare it. Let's see if it's actually worth its cost. Accuracy, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Like I mentioned, there are issues with some of the paint schemes, especially the gear lever. That should have been on the right hand side. They got it in center, which is a bit of a mistake there. In the movie, there were side mirrors, so it's not that accurate to that respect, because it is a bit more accurate to the race itself. They got the extra passenger side fuel cap, which wasn't on either the original or the movie, so there's a mistake there. So yeah, I'll give it the 7 out of 10, because it's not as accurate as it should be. Value. For value, I'm going to give it 4 out of 10. Now, value, here's the interesting part where initially this car came out, like Shelby Collectibles, were never expensive. Like a few years back, they were about $30. You can get, like, I think Toys R Us before they closed down, for about $30 from what I heard, American US. And now since the movie, since 2019, these have exploded. So I got this for about £70. And I must say, yeah, as I mentioned, it's a bit whimsical. It's a bit not so there. So I'm not sure if it's worth that money. £70 is a bit too much. So try and find as cheap as possible wherever you can. Quality, again, I'll give it a 4 out of 10 for that one. As I mentioned, I'm a bit disappointed in the quality, especially the plastic. You've got to be careful. As you can see, it's cracked on the windows. The clear plastics are a bit fragile. The hinges feel a bit loose, so when you handle it, it just goes everywhere. So it just feels you've got to be careful how you handle it, because it just feels it might break at any moment. So extras are non-applicable. Nothing really going on with that one, so no need to worry about that. They are available, so I'll give it a 7 out of 10 for availability, because they're not that hard to get. They do also come in the muddied up version, but again, try and buy the cheapest one you can find, if you can. Presentation, 9 out of 10. Looks good on its own. I think this is one of the instances where it looks better within the case itself, just displayed within the box, because the box and the color just match so well, they mesh so well. Where originally I think the Shelby Collectibles used to be like a black box with gold writing, but this instance I like, looks very good. But if you're going to take it out, you can display it in a lot of ways, and it's always good. You can always open it all up every single way, so there's always a bonus there. So overall, I'll give it a 6. Because of those issues I've mentioned, because some of the inaccuracies, the value for money, and that little bit of fragility to do it, yeah, you might want to be a bit careful about that. I don't know, if the price was a bit lower, the price might go down a bit after a while, after the hype of the movie, because the movie only came out the end of 2019. So I do recommend it if you are interested. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the review. Happy hunting. Cheers. Bye.